that what you'd love to hear from your precious clients? Like, wow, look at what that business did to me. Or, wow, that's a cool offer. Or, wow, I did not expect that. Unfortunately, we don't hear that enough in today's very serious world of business. Well, that's about to change thanks to today's guest, who is the king of wow. So much so that he even convinced comedian Jerry Seinfeld to get one client's customers saying wow a lot. It's a surprising episode 589 of the 12-year-old award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Tim Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of marketing that makes you go, you guessed it, wow. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, and I have an insatiable curiosity for uncovering marketing ideas that help businesses just like yours to grow. How do I do that? Great question. By having in-depth conversations with successful business founders from around the world. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire that it absolutely deserves to be. And that is exactly why this show exists. So well done to you for tuning in, and a big thank you as well. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Righto team, today's special guest is in the business of client attraction, using a system to make your precious customers go wow, whilst at the same time taking their eyes off the price. We love that. His name is John Dwyer. His business, cleverly called the Institute of Wow, is responsible for well over $15 billion. That's with a B. I'm saying that more and more these days, in extra sales for businesses of all sizes. John's biggest claim to fame is convincing comedian Jerry Seinfeld to be the spokesperson for a client's campaign that delivered a whopping 5-fold increase in sales off an already pretty high base. He's helped a local magazine generate 812,000 leads in one promotion. And he's also helped, and this is important, team, because I know who you are, he's also helped hundreds of small businesses just like yours to attract and retain more clients than they'd ever hoped for, thanks to his super simple system, which he's generously agreed to share today. John Dwyer, welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing podcast. What is client attraction?
Thank you very much, Tim. I want to meet that guy, whoever you've just spoken about.
He sounds very impressive.
That's a pretty good rap, isn't it? Yeah. Mate, client attraction, we all want it. Everybody wants to attract new customers or new clients. And the way that we do it is through a system we call direct response marketing. And as the term implies, it's all about getting a response very quickly.
Nice. Well, we all love that. Client attraction, direct response marketing. Marketing is such an overused term. And even after 680 or so episodes, marketing, it is one of those broad terms, client attraction being a component part. What do you particularly love about it, John?
What I love about direct response marketing is that if you put money into Facebook or, LinkedIn or whatever it may be today, you know whether it's worked tomorrow. Whereas if you, sponsor the Brisbane Broncos or you sponsor the local football team with the logo on the back of their jumper, you don't know if that's working for you. You just don't know. It's not measurable. So I normally say to small business owners, look, forget about all that stuff. Leave that to McDonald's and Coca-Cola and Kellogg's and Nike because they can afford to sponsor the Olympics and not measure it. But in your instance, if you're a small business doing a few $100,000 turnover or a couple of $1 million worth of turnover, you need to be doing advertising that has a direct response so you know whether you're wasting money today on Facebook.
Yeah, and we're not just talking, we should clarify here, we're not just talking, certainly I'm not, and I don't think you are, John, just about advertising or Facebook advertising, Google advertising. We're talking about a variety of ways, and I love the name of your business, the Institute of Wow, but at the end of the day, you're laser focused on making customers and business owners go wow, right? That's your business.
Yeah, mate, my little mantra, as wanky as it might sound, and that is that if someone doesn't say wow to your offer, the way I look at it is that if you've got a unique product that doesn't have any competitors. Let's just say when iPhone first came out, okay, so they didn't have a lot of competitors. They could charge what they liked and they could afford to be rather arrogant in terms of the way they sold, you know. And
they still do and they still are.
They still are, that's right.
Jeez, what's changed?
Yes. You know, the rotten part about it is that I'm nowhere near as wealthy as them and I'm still arrogant. Maybe I've got to fix something. So what I say, if you've got an organic wow factor like the iPhone used to, okay, then you probably don't need to worry too much about, adding artificial wow factors. But if your product is a Me Too product, so you're the same air conditioner or the same solar panel or you do the same pool cleaning service as everyone else, you should think outside the square and think, how can I dream up a Happy Meal toy? How can I have a wow factor that's going to attract them to use my carpet cleaning services versus the guy down the road?
You talk a lot about the Happy Meal toy. In fact, I'll come to that in a minute, because what put you on the map in regards to wow was the fact that you somehow convinced comedian Jerry Seinfeld to appear as a spokesperson for one of your clients' TV campaigns. Now, I'm going to be saying this probably a bit through the interview, John, and listeners, but, some of these examples, none of us can afford to have Jerry Seinfeld as a spokesperson. You had a client that had that budget. But I think it's really important to listen to the underlying principles that John talks about. So, John, tell us the Seinfeld story.
Mate, look, I'll make it quick because it's something which I've told over and over again. Of course, if you score a coup like that...
I don't want to bore you, mate. No, sorry, you don't want to share it. No, I'll move on. Hang on, let me just find the next question.
Tim, I don't like sarcasm, all right? So, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Look, it is something I'm dining out on forever because you don't get that opportunity too often. And what it was, that there's a building society in Australia called the Greater Building Society. And for those who are listening in regional areas on the East Coast, they're probably familiar with it, but if you're listening in a capital city, you wouldn't have heard of it. It's called the Greater Building Society. It's the 250th biggest business in Australia, but it's not up there with the big boys like CommBank and ANZ. So they are what you would call a challenger brand. And a challenger brand is, as the name implies, someone who's not the top dog. They're challenging the top dog. And so therefore my view is they need to be different. Like when Virgin came to Australia, their campaign was very clever. It was keep the air fair. Now, it didn't say that Qantas were ripping us off, but, read between the lines. It's a challenger brand, so it was cheeky. So in this instance with the Greater Building Society, as a client of mine in the Institute of Wow, I convinced them to be cheeky and to create a Virgin-esque sort of brand. So therefore, the ads would come on TV and say, do you want to keep on paying fees and not be known by a person but known by a number? Well, you stick with the banks. But if you'd like to actually get personalised service, swap across to the Greater. And the campaign that I put together for them was actually a Happy Meal toy. It was swap your home loan to the Greater and you get a free holiday. And all we did to pay for the free holiday is stop the honeymoon rate. You'd be familiar, Tim, with the banks when they hand out a home loan. Normally, their biggest pull at the moment, or has been for 1,000 years, and that is a 1% honeymoon rate for that first year. You get a 1% discount.
Yeah.
Well, of course, everyone does it. Goodness me. It's like, we've got tomato sauce on our sausage sandwich outside Bunnings. Everyone's got tomato sauce. So, giving a free 1% honeymoon rate for a year was nothing. So what we did is we picked up that honeymoon rate and gave it to a travel company that was a wholesaler that would give a $5,000 holiday for 2.5. So therefore, we created a promotion, get a home loan, get a free holiday, cost neutral, cost them nothing because they got rid of the 1% honeymoon rate. And guess what? It tripled their home loans like in the first 12 months. This thing went nuts and everyone was swapping from the, I won't say everyone, a lot of people were swapping from the banks to get their home loan with the Greater because they got a free holiday.
Just for a free holiday?
Yep. Just for a free holiday. And that shows you the power of a Happy Meal toy if you get the right one, okay? I've got 6 kids.
When you say, let's just get clear, because you do use the phrase Happy Meal toy. I know what you're talking about, but please explain that analogy.
Yeah, good, mate. So therefore, I've got 6 kids. They're millennials. They're all too old these days for Happy Meals. But at one stage, my wife and myself had a Tarago. Anyone with multiple, you come from a large family. I bet you were the same. Yes. You got some sort of huge vehicle.
Mate, I used to roll around the back of the wagon, no seatbelt. Oh, my God, of you.
Goodness me, yeah. And probably maybe that would be a reflection on you, mate, because I think the rest of the kids had seatbelts. It was just you.
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, what happened is that over the years, we couldn't drive past the Golden Arches without the kids screaming. And so we'd go and get 6 Happy Meals. But guess what? They never ate the hamburger. It was all about the toy.
Yeah, okay.
And if you said to my wife and myself, what did a Happy Meal cost at the time, despite spending $6 gazillion on them, I couldn't tell you because McDonald's took our eyes off the price with the toy.
Yes.
And so I say to people, look, if you've got a Me Too product, and McDonald's did because there's Burger King down the road, so they had the same hamburger. Basically, if you want to take their eyes off the price, then create an artificial wow factor. And the best artificial wow factor and the most instant one you can create, of course, is a free something. So we call it the Happy Meal toy to take their eyes off the price.
Okay.
So that's what we did with the Greater.
So with the Greater Building Society, first step is that you create this offer of a free holiday if you take a home loan with us. Seinfeld at this point not involved, but that in itself, that campaign in itself went bananas.
It went for 5 years with the only bank in the world that never advertised an interest rate.
Wow.
Never. Not once. Not one. Can you imagine any industry out there that's, sort of, I guess, in a competitive field, you're used to dropping your prices and then dropping them again to meet, obviously the competitors' offers. In this instance, we're talking about a bank. Can you imagine me sitting in a boardroom with all these number crunchers and they're going, you're not letting us advertise an interest rate? I'm going, no, you can't advertise an interest rate, Yeah. McDonald's don't tell you the price of the Happy Meal. They just say get a free toy with every meal. So despite the fact that a lot of these, branch managers came from a left brain background, so they were very analytical and financial, they ran with it. And for 5 years, it just broke record after record.
John, it's a great example. We talk about this, and we have been speaking about it lately in the Facebook tribe that I run. It's our Facebook group for listeners. And one of the things is that obviously, discounting is a dead end street, and finding that point of difference, finding that little additional thing that we didn't use the phrase wow, but finding that opportunity to make your clients go wow, and importantly here, not follow what your industry does. So the banking industry, it's just a given. You put an interest rate in an ad. And I think as business owners, no matter what business we're in, look at what your industry is doing by default. Because sometimes the default is because everyone else is just doing it and no one's given any thought as to, hey, is this a good idea? Is there something better? And that's what you've done. You've gone, no interest rate, free holiday. Okay, that goes gangbusters. Where's Seinfeld come into this?
Yeah, what happened, mate, about 5 years into the 11-year campaign, because once I left the consultancy of this bank, guess what? They went back to the old days, and now they still, they still advertise now on interest rate. Just amazing. But anyway, so about 5 years into an 11-year campaign where not once did they ever advertise price, the general manager said to me, look, John, have you got any thoughts on taking this to another level? Because we've scooped up all the low-lying fruit. Traditionally, a building society or credit union targets working class people. So you find a lot of tradespeople and general working class people will go to a building society, whereas once you wear a collar and tie, you tend to navigate towards the big banks. That's just the way it is, And they said, look, we've scooped up a lot of the low-lying fruit with that target audience. Can we take it up a level? And I said, where do you want to go? They said, up to white-collar workers. I said, look, you've mistaken me for David Copperfield. You can't get white-collar workers into a building society. That's the way it is. And they said, well, what can you do? I said, we might be able to get middle management white-collar. And so I spoke to a mate of mine who had been doing the Billy Connolly ING campaign and some years earlier. And I said, how'd you do that? He said, well, wherever Billy Connolly was in the world, we just slipped him a couple of $1 million and we flew over and did the ads and that was it. Mm-hmm. I thought, that sounds easy. Well, guess what? I put the same deal to Seinfeld and he's harder to get to than the Pope, I'm telling you. And so cut a long story short, I bugged him, or his management, I should say. And eventually we pulled it off. And I remember the first time I said to Jerry, how did you say yes? Why did you say yes? He said, well, 2 reasons. Number one, I love Australia, and you asked me to basically take the mickey out of other banks, and I take the mickey out of everyone, so I love that. And he said, secondly, I thought if I didn't say yes, you would never go away.
Just tell,
persistence beats intelligence.
Awesome. And clearly, again, you obviously, how much did he cost? How big was the check?
Look, the deal at the time, I can tell you now because it's public knowledge, but at the time, all over, it was on Current Affair, it was on the Today Show.
Yeah, it got huge publicity.
Massive publicity, and everyone was saying, $10 million, because he'd only ever done 2 campaigns beforehand with American Express and Microsoft, so this is a pretty big curve for a little bank in Australia. And everyone thought he got 10 and 20 million. No, he got $1 million a year for 3 years, so we paid him $3 million over 3 years, and I'm telling Ricky Ponting gets more than that. There's a model in Australia, I forget her name now, but she gets 1.5, and I know that Ricky Ponting was getting 1.5.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you get Seinfeld for less than those people.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I'm fascinating. A couple of questions there. Seinfeld wasn't your first choice, is that right?
No, we actually stitched up. I flew over to New York and met with Robin Williams management, and we stitched Robin Williams up. And I was, because keep in mind, everybody, this was 10 years ago or so, and so therefore I just thought this was magnificent because it's not because of I never watched much of Seinfeld, but what happens? We put out as you should do, you put out a research study to members and non-members of the Building Society, asking, look, we're a pretty cheeky sort of brand. Who would you think would be a good ambassador? And I was hoping it would be Bert Newton or Rove because they would be easy to get.
Locals.
And Jim Carrey came up with Robin Williams and Jerry Seinfeld. So we went for Robin Williams. We got it, and I jumped in the plane, and I think God saw that my head was too big because I'm boasting on the phone to the general manager of the Building Society. build a statue outside your head office. And they said, what of Robin Williams? I said, no, me. I got Robin Williams, okay? I want a statue built of me. And I think God then realised my head was too big, because by the time, would you believe, I got to Australia, there's a message from Robin Williams management to say, sorry, he's got to bail because he's just got a movie. Yeah.
Johnny. Oh, well, it worked out well in the end. Tell me, another thing I'm interested in, getting to these guys, Seinfeld, Williams, Carey. Well, I've had a fellow on the show previously, Steve Sims, who's one of his clients is Elton John, does some work for Elton John year in, year out. And we talked about how he got to Elton John, which was basically identifying all the little baby Dobermans in between him and Elton, and then giving them what they want until you get to the big Doberman that was Elton's husband. And then they got to Elton. It was quite a process, but it was a successful process. What was your process for getting in front of a big dog like Seinfeld or Williams?
Yeah, mate, ironically, I know Steve is the bald pommy guy, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely guy, very cheeky.
He's been on this show a number of times, but keep going.
Oh, has he? He's just fantastic. He's a great guy. Look, really, at the end of the day, in the world that we live in now, you Google, of course, and it's not that hard. Back in the day, when I used to try and get onto Johnny O'Keefe or Ray Martin or whoever it may have been at the time, then you had to know someone who knew someone. These days, you just type in Jerry Seinfeld management. And essentially, I mean, it was pretty easy with Jerry, because on the back end of his movies where the credits roll, it always says that it's a Shapiro West production. So it's a guy called George Shapiro, and so therefore I contacted George Shapiro. In the first phone call, I'd never thought it would go so well, but I'm a bit cheeky, he's a bit cheeky, he enjoyed the larrikinism. And we got on and he said, look, send me over the details and I'll put it to him, and you wouldn't believe it. This is like after going through other people looking to get to Jerry. Like his sister, for example, worked for him at one stage. And so I went through all the roundabout and eventually got onto George Shapiro. And because we hit it off on the phone, when he put it to Jerry, he rang up 48 hours later and said, you know what? Jerry thinks it'll be good fun.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And then it happened. Here's the check. You flew over and filmed wherever he was. He didn't have to come here. No. And the rest is history. It's such a great story. And obviously you didn't expect it to pretty much, I mean, it certainly launched the Institute of Wow into another level, created a speaking career for you, and did a whole lot of great things. And it's a great story, John. Well done on that. But let's bring it down a level. Not even down. Let's move across to a case study or two that involves a small business that is using Wow, that is using the power of client attraction, customer attraction really cleverly, that you've been involved in.
Yeah, good, mate. And look, just to finish up the Jerry thing, when he came on board at the 5th or 6th year of the 11 years, he continued to market the free holiday. So therefore, it wasn't just Jerry saying, oh, bank with the Greater Building Society. It was Jerry saying,
yeah, right,
get a free holiday, but it was done in a very, very, very comical way. You know, and it's funny. Because we set up an Australian street not far away from where he lives in a little town called Cedarhurst. So he lives in the Hamptons in New York. So we took over a street. We actually took over the town for 2 days to film everything. Okay, we made a donation. We made a donation, so all the shops in the town that had to close would be recompensed. But Jerry was outside a Greater Building Society branch doing a stand-up, and of course the whole idea is that he's flogging the holiday. Well, at the end of the stand-up, he would ask me, give me another country town. I'd go, Wagga Wagga. He goes, why wouldn't it just be called Wagga? I said, I don't know, just use Wagga Wagga. So he would say, look, next week I'll be in front of the pharmacy at Wagga Wagga. So it was very funny, very, very funny. Look, I'll give you a couple of, small business case studies, because I know that a lot of your listeners would be running a small business. Classic one.
Well, and this is really important, guys, because again, John, you started off talking about advertising. You touched on the fact that brand awareness is nice, and we all want it. But as a strategy, a marketing communication strategy, it's expensive and it's sort of luxurious. So whatever we do as small business owners, like you say, we want a direct response now from whatever we do. So I'm gathering these case studies will, again, give us inspiration to do that.
Yeah, good point, mate. And I'll try and give inspiration, because I don't know whether you've noticed, but I know everything. So therefore, I'll be.
You told me that.
Yeah. You're not listening, but Tim, you're quite right. I mean, sponsoring one of the football teams or even the local netball team is great, but try getting any direct response from that quickly. I've never seen 6 kids and lots of Saturday morning sports. I never saw any parent with a pen and paper yelling out to number 6, going, "Would you slow down? I want to get the butcher's phone number off the back of your jersey." It just So the way I look at it, unless you've got deep pockets, the brand building thing is something that should be secondary. You've got to put food on the table in the first instance. Look, a classic case is a turf farm on the Gold Coast Tamborine Mountains. They became a client of mine, and I visited them, and I said to the guy, what do you want to do? He said, look, we've got 6 kilometres worth of turf, and there was a mountain range of turf I could see from his office. He said, we've got to get rid of that quickly because the new season's coming around and we've got to replant. And I said, okay, well, who's your target audience? His target audience are landscapers because they would buy 1 or 2 or 3 homes worth of turf, whereas, mum and dad would just buy a front yard's worth. I said, okay, what do you think would be a good wow factor for them? He said, well, look, at the moment, we're just busting our so-and-so's, trying to beat the price of all the other turf farms. We're $5.50 a square metre. They dropped to $5.20. We've got to drop to $4.90 in the usual stage of race to the bottom.
Yep.
I said, okay, well, let's come up with a Happy Meal toy. What do you think landscapers would like? Which are 99% male, and we came up with a carton of Crown Lager. So we sent out a mailer to 500 landscapers in Brisbane and the Gold Coast and said, if for every home's worth of grass, we'll give you a carton of Crown Lager. And guess what? He rings me up 5 days into the campaign and says, look, we've got a problem. And I thought, oh, God, what do you mean a problem? He said, we don't have any more grass. We've run out of grass. He said, I'm sourcing turf. I've got this on a video testimonial because even I couldn't believe it. He said, we're sourcing turf from our competitive turf farms to keep up with the demand for the beer. So he said the Happy Meal toy is overtaking the Happy Meal. And he gave...
What do you think the psychology of that is? And I'd do it. In fact, I've just bought some turf. And, I would have gone to, if there was a place down the road, give me a box of beer, albeit a box of Crown Lager is $50. It's nuts, isn't it? This whole psychology of marketing where it's that, I love, and I talk about it often, it's this high perceived value to the recipient, the customer, at a low cost to the business owner. And that gap in between is the marketing magic. Have you because you've done this a long time, John, do you understand the psychology or we just love something for free?
Yeah, I do understand that. I have been doing it for a long time, since 1842, as a matter of fact. So therefore I've been doing it for a little while. I thought it was 43, but yeah, 42. Okay. And so look, the psychology of it is that if there's a Me Too product, in other words, there's offers out there that look like the same as a solar dealer down the road or the pool cleaner or the carpet cleaner, whatever it may be, pricing normally comes in around about the same until someone drops their pants further. It's just a distinguishing, I guess, bonus that not many people use. By the way, can I just point this out to you, Tim? 97% of businesses don't use any incentives. 97%.
It's insane.
Yep.
It's insane. Okay, so let's talk about that.
Tim, can I just say this to you, is that the turf farm thing was very interesting because he's a lovely guy who runs the business, and he said to me, listen, the crazy part about it, the biggest pain in the butt client that he had over the years was a guy that would always ring up and say, oh, you're $5.50 a square metre, I can get it for $5.20 down the road. So he said, I'd have to drop my price, and then it was a race to the bottom. He said he was the first guy to ring up and said, I want 18 homes worth of grass to get 18 cartons of beer. And he said, I don't care when the grass gets here, but I need the beer by Friday. I've got a party.
It's a way of financing the catering of a bloody event.
Yeah.
Genius.
So, the thing is that, there's, as I said earlier, if you've got an organic wow factor, so you've got a product or service that's absolutely unique, and there's not many of them in the world, by the way, but if you've got the Rubik's Cube of your business, then you don't need me, you don't need any of this sort of advice. But if you don't, if you're the same as most of your competitors, then what you need to do is stop price discounting and do something that they will find hard to copy. And you know what? Even if it's not hard to copy, do you know that the Building Society ran that free holiday with the home loan promotion for 11 years? It's the easiest thing in the world to copy. I mean, just go and get a travel wholesaler.
Yes.
Not one bank or building society copied it because they're all left-brain thinkers. They're thinking about interest rates.
Well, copying, I mean, they could have copying directly, like another bank giving away a holiday or another turf company giving away a box of beer would be sort of a bit see-through, and like maybe customers would even go, oh, that's pretty obvious you're doing the same as the bloke down the road. But just simply the idea of offering an incentive.
Yeah.
97%, John.
97%.
Again, is it simply because, when I hear that, I just think, us small business owners don't have a lot of thinking time.
Yeah.
Us small business owners may not understand the power of an idea.
Yep.
And as I've often said, it's why big brands pay big agencies big dollars for big ideas.
Yep.
We don't have the luxury of that.
Yep.
This is partly why this podcast exists, to just open people's minds up, to say, hey, go and sit down, go away for half a day, take away your mentor or your people whose opinions you respect, and just have some blue sky thinking. What would be the what would be the incentive to get someone across the line besides a discounted price? What could we give away? That's my view. Have you got anything to add to that as to why they're not doing it?
Yeah, and look, you're dead right. Most business owners are great technicians. So they're a great dentist or they're a great landscaper or they're a great carpet cleaner, but they're not very good at marketing. We have clients over the years that were, very, very intelligent dentists, for example, or doctors. And I'll say to them, when you did your 5-year course at uni to become a good dentist, did they ever teach you how to attract customers? No. They taught you how to do teeth whitening and, all of that, but they didn't teach. So therefore, there's a lot of great technicians out there who have never, ever been exposed to clever marketing. And the other thing is that people think you need to have a good product to make money. And the first thing I ask if I'm out on stage in front of a seminar, and it's just a bit of a cheeky sort of attention getter, but I say, who thinks here that you need a good product to make money? I mean, and everyone puts their hand up. So who thinks McDonald's makes the best hamburger in the world? You see, they're the best marketers in the world, but I think arguably people would say they're not the best hamburger. So you don't even have to have the best product in the world. You just have to have very, very clever marketing. And you're quite right. I mean, the crazy part about it is that most people go into business and set it up. They're very, very good technicians of what they do, but they just don't understand marketing. That's why we've stopped all advice, to be honest with you. We found that when we were providing advice to a small business owner, that just never worked most of the time. There was very few of them that had the wherewithal or the time or the energy to actually execute. So what we swapped some years ago into packaged promotions. So we just do it all for them because we realised if we left it for them to organise the Facebook campaign or change their website or whatever it might be, most of the time it didn't happen. And they admitted that it was their fault. They just never got to it.
Tell me, let's go for another case study, John, of a small business. Restaurant down in Melbourne, the Lobster Cave. Is this a good one to share?
Yeah, great one, mate. And I know that you've come from Melbourne, so you're familiar with this one. It's a restaurant called the Lobster Cave at Beaumaris in Melbourne. And it's a pretty upmarket suburb, so the houses are 2s and 3s and 4 millions. And he's quite upmarket. His main meals, I think, kick off at $50. So therefore, his audience are well-to-do. And he came into my coaching program and he said to me, look, what can I do? And I said, let me come down and have a look at the restaurant. So I did. And I noticed one thing that he wasn't doing, and that was he wasn't collecting data. And the crazy thing with most businesses, not just restaurants and cafes, nobody collects data. I mean, online digital companies do, of course, but the vast majority of bricks and mortar businesses don't collect. I'm telling you, you can go into any cafe and any restaurant in Australia or in the world today, they won't ask for your details. Okay, so obviously with COVID, the QR code, but they can't use that for marketing purposes. That was just a one-off. But generally speaking, no one ever collects data. So I said to him, why don't we hold a contest for your waitresses whereby for every name and contact detail that they get, old world style, by the way, so when the girl would come up to the table with the $250 bill when there's 3 or 4 people on the table, she'd put a little name and address entry form in front of them to win dinner for 10 of their friends that month. 94% of them filled it in. And guess what? Then at 3 o'clock every afternoon, he has 192,000 on that list now, by the way.
What?
Yeah, 192,000.
A little restaurant. See, I find that so inspiring. A little we're talking a restaurant, not a chain, not a franchise, not even a very big restaurant, actually. Well known because he had a very strong radio presence for many years in Melbourne. But boy, oh boy, 192. You built that up for him as a result of that giveaway. But you then obviously...
You know what he does, Tim? He just exploits that by every day, every single day, because I get one once a month. So he doesn't he doesn't wreck the list by hitting everyone all the time. I mean, that's a cardinal sin. But he'll pick 500 of that every day. And I was there. He said, John, have a look at this. He yells out to his long-suffering, he's a bit cheeky like you and I, so therefore his long-suffering secretary, he yells out to her, look, Charlene, can you tell me what's our booking rate for tonight? This is 3 o'clock one afternoon when I'm visiting him. It's a 180-seat restaurant. She says, we've filled 70 seats. He said, okay, well, we've got about 100 to fill. Send out one of John's, that's
email.
Mine. Yeah, text, not email, no one ever opens them, so it's a text. So therefore, a text message goes out and says, Chef Pierre would like to invite you to come tonight. Special lobster tail meal for 2 for $68, right? She comes back in 10 minutes later, restaurant completely booked. He's the only restaurant in the entire world that's booked 364 nights a year because he uses text messages.
This is not hard.
No.
This is not hard. It's beautifully simple, smart, and everyone wins. You know, as you say, eyes off the price. And all of a sudden, I love it. I love it. You have been doing this long enough now, John, to understand that there are certain incentives that people enjoy over others. What are they? And you've decided to focus on one, which I'd like to understand a bit more about.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. By the way, just before I do that, Tim, with the Lobster Cave one, just in case anyone in Victoria, of course, is listening to this and they're familiar with Bill Ferg's restaurant, the Lobster Cave, what he does is that he's just simply collecting data and then exploiting that every afternoon via text messaging. And the reason I say the text messaging is because we all know the open rates of emails are very low, 10% or less sometimes, whereas the open rate of a text message, depending upon what expert you want to listen to, but is somewhere between 80 and 90% within 2 minutes. So if you're going to be using these sorts of tactics, make sure you collect their phone number. Not too fussed about their email. Get their phone number. Yeah.
I hear you on phone number. When I hear the inbox is full, okay, it might be, but I think the challenge of email marketing is a creative challenge. I don't think email marketing is dead by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I've got plenty of proof that it isn't, and interviews with past guests that have used it unbelievably. I interviewed one bloke who had a product to sell. He wanted to do it because he had a big list of email addresses. He said, okay, who's doing it really well? And he looked to the magazine Sports Illustrated for whatever reason. The guy's from America. And he reversed engineered Sports Illustrated magazine's email marketing campaign and then applied it to his own business. And it went gangbusters. So I think it is a creative challenge. But I think someone like Bill Fergs at the Lobster Cave example, I mean, that's a very instant response. Yep. It's the afternoon of the evening, and we're more inclined to look at a text upon arrival versus checking on our inbox, because I think I don't have my email notifications. I hate notifications, full stop. But so anyway, we beg to disagree on that, and that's okay.
No, don't get me wrong.
We're big boys.
I agree. All I'm saying is
I know I've hurt your feelings, John.
Yeah. No. I have no feelings, so you can't hurt them. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you ignore email. All I'm saying is that if you're looking for an instant response to an offer, then you will get that more likely from a text blast than you will from an email blast because of the opening being very quick. Can I just say to you, if anyone wants to triple their open rate on their emails, I can tell you how to do that right now. Do you think that might be something that they'd...
No, don't worry, mate. Let's just keep going.
Good. We'll just move on to the other things. Now this is going to triple your open rates for your email. You can't guarantee anything in life, but I just use this and watch what happens to the open rates. You just change the subject line. You don't do it every week, of course, but you change the subject line to buried email. You put buried email as the subject line and you watch what happens to your open rate. I learnt that from someone. It's not something I dreamt up, so I can't take credit for it. And I just went, oh, yeah, sure. Well, guess what? My next email blast out to 11,000 on our list. I put buried email up the top of it. It tripled the open rate.
I don't understand that. The words literally in the subject line, nothing else. You have two words, buried email.
And all that you say, dear Fred, look, you may not have received my other email. It could be buried in your spam box. And so therefore I'm sending this again, blah, 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 blah. Simple as that.
Okay, that's clever, and I love anything that's going to triple the open rate. Probably could piss a few people off because you've kind of tricked me.
Yeah, true, but if you're not pissing enough people off, then you're not sending out enough emails.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, John Dwyer. If he can't turn you on, you've got no switches.
That's right.
Now, John, tell me, let's go back to that question around, you have looked at a number of incentives over the years, travel, free beer. Free beer is surely one of the most popular headlines a copywriter could ever write.
Yep.
And I guess there's been other Happy Meal type incentives. Why you've decided that travel is where it's at for small business owners to attract and retain more customers? Why?
The reason is I guess the experience I had with that Greater Building Society where I could see, I was fortunate because I could use the huge budget that this building society had to do research. So we could determine why that worked and other things hadn't worked, okay? So, for example, when 3D TVs came out, remember that 5 minutes when they came out and went away again? Yeah, we tested that.
I bought one.
Yeah, did you really? Did you?
Yeah, I still got the glasses.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did you do with the glasses? So anyway, that failed miserably. And so therefore we wanted to really find out why holidays worked. And it was staring us in the face, but the research just reaffirmed it. And that is because it's appealing to both sexes and all ages. Okay, so because when you're selling something that is a product or service where you've got a wide target audience, then, you want to find something that's going to be appealing to all ages. And movie tickets are one, petrol discounts are another. I used to be the national marketing guy at Woolworths, so I'm pretty familiar about petrol discounts, okay? We're talking dining vouchers, as in a restaurant dining voucher. That's appealing to all ages. And, of course, holidays. And when you stack those four up against each other, holidays comes one, petrol discounts come two, okay? So it's just that particularly, of course, in this climate that we're in, we're all coming out of, hopefully, a pretty rough 2 years.
Yes.
Then, of course, you won't find a sexier Happy Meal toy out there at the moment than offering someone a free holiday if they buy something from you.
Absolutely. So what have you got? What have you done? Has the Institute of Wow literally sort of gone from a broad base of ideas to incentivise lead generation and sales to going, you know what? I think what you said earlier was like we're sick of giving advice because everyone's busy and they're not listening anyway. Yep. You've just gone, no, we are now going to help businesses attract more clients by giving away free holidays. So that's what you've done?
Yeah, pretty much. What happened, mate, is that a travel company saw what we did with the Greater Building Society, and they contacted me a couple of years ago and said, look, you seem to have half a clue with this whole, holiday marketing thing. We're a travel company and we've been able to get access to unsold hotel rooms because the hotels realise that there's nothing more perishable than tonight's room. They can't sell it tomorrow. So they may as well give it away and hope that whoever stays there will spend money at the restaurants and cafes and room service and cocktails by the pool. So that's how it is. So it's basically what the airlines used to do before the cheap airlines came along. They used to actually have a standby lounge. Remember, you used to see people in pyjamas with no teeth that were in that lounge?
And I think I saw you in that line one day, actually. Walked straight past.
I opened the door, damn it. So therefore, of course, then they would come out and they'd make the announcement that we've got 11 seats and all those people would jostle to get those 11. Well, of course, when Jetstar and all the cheap airlines came along, that stopped. But it's essentially like that. The hotels would rather give away tonight's hotel room. They're normally running at about 30% vacancy outside of holidays. So therefore, outside of school holidays, they're running at 30% vacancy. They may as well give those rooms up for free and hope to make money out of food and beverage. Simple as that.
You get hold of these free rooms.
Yep.
And you've just got a whole, what do you call it? Not portfolio, but like a...
Inventory of hotels around.
An inventory, that's exactly the word I was looking for.
Yep. No, mate, basically there's all around Australia from Gold Coast to Brisbane to Melbourne to Cairns and Adelaide and Perth, all sorts of places. And then Fiji, New Zealand, Bali, Thailand, all of these places have got these beautiful 4-star hotels. So they're not, it's not the caravan park. So they're beautiful 4-star hotels. And what happens is that the 3-day, 4-night holiday in Australia, for example, is normally worth up to $1,000. The business buys it off us for $97 and gives it away when someone buys their pool cleaning service or their refrigerator or whatever it might be. Simple as that.
Give us an example of a small business that's used this effectively.
We've got a number of we picked out a number of industries that particularly we felt would be appropriate for. Real estate agents are using it to get appraisals. So therefore, the letterbox brochure they used to put with their face that says, I've got buyers in the area, could we value your home? And so now, of course, we'd like to value your home. So we've got an update on home valuations in the area. And if you let us in for 45 minutes, we'll give you a free holiday. So the real estate agent tells us that if out of every 10 appraisals, they normally pick up 1 or 2 listings, which when they sell, they get 10 or 20 or 30 grand commission. So to give away 10 holidays at $97 a holiday to pick up,
So they've given away $970, and for every 10 listings they do as a result of that spend, they're averaging 3 conversions. Appraisals.
Appraisals.
They're getting 3 listings. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I've got one real estate agent in Coolangatta, lovely guy, Paul his name is, and he's an LJ hooker. He jumped on board quickly. He said, you wouldn't believe it. He said, I just put together a little leaflet. I put it out into 10,000 letter boxes. So he said, that cost me $1,000. And he said, we got 5 leads within the first 24 hours of people just saying, come and appraise my house. So he said, I gave away 5 holidays at $97. So let's just say $500. He said, I got 2 listings out of it, and I sold them in this market, as you know, it's pretty easy to sell homes. He said, I sold them within 3 days. So I picked up $47,500 in commission for essentially 3 times $97. Oh, sorry, 5 times $97.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So you're the Institute of Wow is now selling these. Well, surely you're not selling just individual coupons of $97. Do you sell books of these coupons for then businesses of any industry to then buy and do what they want with? And I imagine integrate. Surely, I guess part of your service is showing them how to integrate the offer into their offer, whether it be a visual, banner, or whether it be a little add-on to a brochure. Is that you kind of? Because there'd be a little bit of magic in making it people aware of it, right?
It is, Tim, and look, because we're not 25 anymore, we've been around the block a few times, so I actually... Hey. Well, you're younger than me, but I'm not 25 anymore. So the thing is that, I thought to myself, look, if giving advice is frustrating to small business, it's frustrating for me to small business owners because they just don't have the time to put stuff together. If I'm going to package something together for them, including Facebook advertising management and the whole kit and caboodle, what would I do that would be a real win for them and at the same time, the best possible return for us? And this just dropped in the sky a couple of years ago. So it's absolutely perfect because it has all of my wow stuff in it. I mean, you can't, can you imagine if you said, look, come and get Invisalign from my dentist, surgery, and I'll give you a free holiday. I don't think they're going to get their braces from anywhere else. If you said, look, come and buy the refrigerator from me this weekend and I'll give you a free holiday, I don't think they're going to go down to Harvey Norman. So it's a very, very powerful thing. And we just sell them for units of 50 at a time. So therefore, people buy 50 holidays off us at a time.
I want to keep talking about this, John, and marketing, but for those who, I imagine there'd be a lot of business owners right now going, man, how do I find out about this? How do I get a bit of this, a slice of this? Go to salesbooster.com.au/Timbo. You'll find out how to access those free holidays. Plus, John will give you a free copy of his ebook, which is all about creating an avalanche of leads, which all of us need to be better at. John, sometimes we can complicate marketing, and when I'm speaking at conferences and asking businesses about how their marketing's going, and generally 9 out of 10, sometimes 10 out of 10 just say it's terrible. I'm frustrated by it. I'm let down by it. I don't get the return I'm looking for. And generally it's because they find it's either too expensive, it's too complicated, or they just don't have the time. It would appear, unless I'm missing something, that this little incentive-based program of giving away free holidays, almost free holidays, free to the customer anyway, it's just so elegantly simple. And so often the good things are, right? Seinfeld was simple. Seinfeld as a show wasn't a complicated show. It was just about the little things in life. And I just think there are so many examples where, and it's not easy being simple. You talked about the iPhone before. The iPhone is an incredibly simple piece of technology to use behind the scenes. I imagine it's incredibly complicated, but that simplicity in marketing is a beautiful thing.
I've got to give you this, Tim. Please don't say no to this. I've got to give you my back fence manufacturer
Time's up, John.
story.
Sorry, mate. Thank you anyway. Salesbooster.com.au/Timbo. No, keep going.
No wonder we get on well, yeah. My wife's had to put up with my sarcasm for 30-something years. I don't know why she still hangs around, because she'll say, you're not listening to me, and I'll go, what? How easy is that to sort of just spin out of it? You think she'd just ignore it? Mate, this is a beauty. A guy in Gosford, New South Wales, had a aluminium fence business, and he says to me when he came to one of my song and dance shows, and he says, look, I've tried FacePage and it doesn't work. I said, well, maybe that's why it doesn't work.
FacePage?
Yes.
How old are you?
Yeah, no. I said to him. That's what I said to him. Basically, I said the same thing to him. I said, no, mate, it's called Facebook. He went, whatever it's called. Whatever it's called. It doesn't work. This FacePage thing. I said, no, it's Facebook. Yeah. He said, I put out the leaflets in the letterbox, because he wanted to concentrate on an area around about Gosford, right? And I said, okay, right. So what do you make? He said, aluminium fences. And he said, I hit the old houses that have got the old wooden fences that, I grew up with, and in Sydney. And he said, obviously, they're falling down, so therefore they need a new aluminium fence. But he said, it's not working. So I looked at his ad and I looked at his brochures. It was just woeful. They were put together by Stevie Wonder, I'm sure, So anyway, I said to him, look, let me get hold of this and we'll show you that FacePage can work, right? So we put a Facebook campaign together, and this is how simple it is. We ran the ugliest back fence in Australia contest. So what we did is we said to...
Great idea.
Yep. We said, everybody take a photo of your crumbling wooden back fence and just send it you'll post it up to his Facebook page, by the way. So they're doing all the hard work for you. Aside from glowing in the dark, they are actually taking a photo of their crappy fence and putting it on his page for the chance to win an aluminium fence makeover. So they've actually said, I need an aluminium fence. So talk about take a cold lead to a red hot lead. We had to stop the campaign after 3 days. He had 6 months worth of leads he could not handle. Simple as that. The ugliest back fence in Australia contest. And
so
we've done the same thing.
Can I just understand that? Because, and if you've got another example, please share it. So what that fellow did was ran a Facebook campaign asking, and he obviously paid advertising to boost it, because I don't imagine he'd have a whole lot of friends on his Facebook.
3.
So he's run a boosted campaign on Facebook saying, post to my website your back fence if you think it's the ugliest in Australia.
That's right.
People did that.
Yep.
He then gets... How's he getting those leads all into one place? I don't have a great sense of the back end of Facebook, and I'm guessing maybe you don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll leave it
to the experts, right?
Yeah,
all that back end stuff.
Yeah, but trust me,
but that was the premise of the campaign. Again, very simple. What was the next one you were going to share?
Kitchen. I mean, you can do it for anything really, but the thing is the kitchen renovations. We've had a whole bunch of them on board, and kitchen renovator is the same as the other kitchen renovator, except for maybe a granite bench top. They're all the same. So therefore, we just do the same thing. How would you? We ran this one actually in conjunction with Hot Tomato radio station on the Gold Coast. We just said, we're looking for the ugliest kitchen in Australia contest, and you could win a kitchen makeover. So guess who enters the kitchen makeover contest? Someone who wants a kitchen makeover. We've done it for water filtration systems. Would you like a water filtration system underneath your sink? And so on and so forth. It's really, really easy, but it's just a matter of thinking outside the square.
It's a really interesting concept, the one you shared, and I'll give an example of it too, because we so often, like for the fence guy, it would have been easy enough to say he builds the best fences, but it's boring because that's what everyone does.
Yep.
And so you've got to look for, this is, I suppose, a tip for business owners listening who want to go away for a half a day and think emotionally and creatively about their business. Look for the emotional entry point.
Yes.
And that's what you've done. The ugliest back fence is an emotional entry point into a greater discussion about having a new fence. There was an example, a case study of Finish dishwashing detergent. Went to actually a podcaster many years ago and said, would you help promote our Finish dishwashing liquid? It's the best in the business and it makes the glasses really shiny. Boring. Yeah. What the podcaster did was said, how about we run a competition where listeners identify who is the dishwasher Nazi in their household? Because there is one. There's always one. I'm that in my household.
Yep.
Things must be stacked in a particular way.
Yep.
And again, it's just finding an emotional entry point where people can all of a sudden have a discussion and have some fun and get connected and engaged to that brand in a much deeper way. So I get it, mate. And travel, is another emotional entry point. One more example, John. I love these. I love case studies.
Mate, these are, look, so do I, mate, because really, as you know, you've been to my website, there's 4 million case studies at the Institute of Wow. And the reason I do that is because I've seen so many wanky seminar speakers get up there and tell you that they're geniuses and they can change your business overnight.
You might have been one back in the day.
Yeah, no, I used to be a wanker, yeah. So many would say I've still got that skill. But anyway, so what would happen is that, of course, you sit there and go, okay, well, give me the meat and veggies. I want to see what you've done. So I make sure that, we've got lots and lots of case studies on our site. But a classic one was we lived in a little country town for a little while, and it was called Gloucester. It's in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. And we're on a few acres there. And, of course, it was your typical little main street with one butcher and baker and so forth. And there was a hairdresser in there, and she said to Gail, my wife, any chance John could help me with a big problem we've got, because a second hairdresser for the first time ever had opened up across the road, and they were promoting men's haircuts for $5. And she said, I can't match that. I do a men's haircut for $25 or $30. And, women's hair things are hundreds, but nonetheless for men, they're quite happy to pay $25, $30. At the time, this was some years ago. And she said, how do I fix it? Because the guy over the road's got the sandwich board, and we do men's haircuts, or the lady across the road, we do men's haircuts for $5. And I said, I think that could be an easy fix. And so she said, what would it be? She said, would I just drop to $4? I said, no, you can't do that. Because what happened, they figured if they got the men in there for that, the men would tell their wives, and the wives would go in and spend $100, right? So I just...
Flawed thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. The wife's not going to listen to us anyway, so...
Well, the wife is not going to go to the same place the husband does for their hair. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but as you know, a guy will go down to the butcher for $5 and get his hair cut,
I get my hair cut at a place called Scumbags. I get a free beer and I'm out in 10 minutes.
Scumbags. Is that really the name of the business?
It is. Oh. And I've interviewed the owner, and I said, why did you call it Scumbags? And he goes, because I want our clients to pre-select themselves, and I just like cutting the hairs of scumbags. Oh, okay. I assume I'm a scumbag.
Well, that's a wow factor. I'll give that to her. So anyway, we just created another sandwich board, which she put out the next day, and it pretty much fixed everything pretty quickly. And the sandwich board, and I normally at a seminar, I'll show it up on the big screen, but that sandwich board just simply said, we fix $5 haircuts.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, John Dwyer again. It's just a never-ending, I didn't realise I was hosting a stand-up comedy routine. Now, listen, Johnny, this is awesome, mate. We could talk forever, but I think right now, hopefully, listeners' heads are exploding with the notion that they can potentially decrease some of their marketing communication spend, their advertising spend, and redirect it into really interesting offers like travel. And if that is of interest, please, again, head over to salesbooster.com.au/Timbo, where John has very kindly provided a free copy of his book on how to create an avalanche of leads. Plus, you'll find out a lot more about how this travel incentive concept works and how you can use it, because I think it's a ripper. And anyone, if you do use it, I really want to know about it. I really want to know how it works. So you can leave a message on the Small Business Big Marketing Hotline on 0480 015 150. John, great, mate. I'm really glad. I mean, you and I have never met. You've been on the speaking circuit probably longer than me, but your name's popped up every now and then, and it's lovely to put a face to the name, and it's lovely to hear someone doing something for businesses of all sizes, of all industries, in a marketing sense that's simple and provides a high rate of return. So thanks, buddy.
Well, thank you very much, mate. And before I go, I have to ask you, what are they going to call Bob the Builder when he retires?
Oh, here we go. I don't know. What are they going to call Bob the Builder when he retires?
Bob.
Ooh, it's not a good way to finish, but we'll just wrap it up there. Thanks, John.
I knew that would bring everything to an end real quick.
Well, there you go, team. Wow, specialist John Dwyer. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Geez, he's got some good ideas. And remember, you don't need big budgets to get your customers saying wow more often. You know, the case study he used for the Building Society and getting Seinfeld, that's great. That's a wow moment. But I'm so glad he shared those other ideas around the guy who sells turf, the little restaurant in Melbourne. You know, it feels achievable, right? So if you're keen for more wow, grab John's ebook over at salesbooster.com.au/Timbo. Plus, get on my list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, where you'll see my new website, by the way, as you'll be hearing from myself and John over the coming weeks. If there is enough interest, we may well do a webinar or something else, sort of blowing apart that whole idea of customer attraction and incentivizing and retention. Hey, did you know I've interviewed quite a few guests over the past 12 years that are absolute ninjas at creating wow? We're talking one guy who does extreme product demonstrations. He makes blenders. Another guy who breaks Guinness Book of World Records. He creates awareness around his chicken franchise in the States. Got a dentist that became an expert at hiding the smell of Novocaine and attracting more patients, making them go wow. So you'll find a whole list of the best of those episodes over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/589. If you're making your customers go wow in any way, shape or form, then I would love to hear from you. Let me know by calling the Small Business Big Marketing hotline on 0480 015 150. If you're from overseas, just drop the 0 and put a +61 in front of it. So +61 480 015 150 and let me know. Or maybe you've just got an idea to help improve this podcast, which would not be hard, just like listener Ian Love has.
Hey, Timbo, Ian Love here. I work in the NICE program, so I actually help people set up their own small businesses, generally through Centrelink if they're job seekers and they want to set up their own business. I absolutely love your show. I generally get at least one really great tip that I share with most of my clients on every episode. Really, really loved the most recent one you did with Bob Wheeler, simply because it, I guess, recapped on a lot of the other episodes. So I'm not sure if it's viable, but it'd be really great to maybe every couple of months have a recap where some of the top-rated or most useful shows get a mention again, because obviously some people aren't going to be able to listen to 500 episodes. So if you can sort of highlight some key points, or, as I say, just do a bit of a review for some really great tips, possibly even, have an option where people can vote for the most useful tip or most useful podcast or most useful episode, and actually then, users can actually jump on it and see the most useful stuff. I know you've got like your resources page, but yeah, I think the more help we can provide to other business owners, the better it is. So give us a yell if you need anything. Cheers, mate.
Hey, thank you so much, Ian, for calling the Small Business Big Marketing hotline to take the time to do it, brother. I love it. I do recaps. You will find as you work your way through the archive of 589 episodes, but I do catch up with past guests, normally after a few years, to see where they're at, see what they're doing. I'll always put update in the headline of the show notes of those episodes. And in terms of discussing episodes, the pros and cons, what we've implemented, we're doing that more and more inside the Facebook tribe. So go to Facebook and then look up Small Business Big Marketing Tribe, and you can become a member for free. It's about 2,000 members now, all small business owners, talking about marketing, talking about what's working for them, asking questions and discussing episodes. Ian Love, thank you for your message. Got some great chats coming up. One with a world-leading pricing expert for small business, which will be kind of interesting following today's discussion that, pricing is not necessarily the best way to attract more people into your business. Got another interview, hopefully with Tom from the legendary Emma and Tom's Juices. If you enjoyed today's ep, be sure to hit the subscribe button. That really helps me. And you want to help me even more? Leave a review on your favourite podcast app. You'll also find 588 more chats with successful business founders on that app or over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, where you can grab a copy of my book, The Boomerang Effect, which will teach you how to create helpful marketing. As has been the case for the past 12 years, it's me, Timbo Reid, attempting and doing my best to make the marketing of that beautiful business of yours just a little bit more enjoyable. Just something that you put in your diary and can't wait to do more of. All-round good guy and ridiculously talented musician Lockie Dolly is fully responsible for the music bed. Thanks for tuning in. May your marketing be the absolute best marketing. Bye for now.